Alright, so a few days ago I had put up a video about my thoughts on the outcome of the Zimmerman trial. And it basically said that what just happened there? I am not surprised in the outcome. Um, Basically, I said, I thought that, it was George did not make the right decision when he got out of the car and approached Trayvon. Trayvon did not make the right decision when he attacked Zimmerman. He did initiate the violence. So I felt that under the definitions of murder, first degree, second degree, and manslaughter, if I had been on that jury, I would have had to vote not guilty as well. However, I felt that he would be taken to civil court, like O.J. Simpson, and they would find him guilty. However, one of my friends on Facebook posted this today, and it has changed my mind a little bit. And basically, it's made me even more supportive of the verdict. It's a very interesting survey. It's basically says a few questions for those upset by the Zimmerman verdict. This survey focuses specifically on some of the most underreported or misreported facts in the case, facts that challenge many of the preconceptions created by the media's coverage of the topic. It is not meant to be a perfectly balanced or comprehensive list of all the evidence. It does not cover the well-known facts, and it is not a specific poll of any kind. Its purpose is to highlight just how many facts you probably didn't know because they were ignored or widely misreported. Excuse me. Here's some background. The primary issue in the Zimmerman trial was whether there was enough evidence to conclude that Zimmerman may have legitimately acted in self-defense. During the trial, it wasn't necessary for the defense team to absolutely prove that Zimmerman acted in self-defense, just that there was enough evidence or lack of contrary evidence to believe it was reasonably possible. Zimmerman's defense claim is basically this. Zimmerman was in his car when he spotted Martin acting strange, wandering in the rain, staring at the houses, so he called the police. After seeing Zimmerman in his car, Martin started running off down the walkway between some of the buildings. Zimmerman then got out of his car but lost sight of Martin after a few moments. He continued in the same direction as Martin for a few hundred feet, either to try to see where Martin went or to check the street name to give an address to the police, or both. Zimmerman says he lost sight of Martin, but since the dispatcher advised him not to continue following, he started walking back to meet the police. Martin then approached him from behind and said, "Yo, you got a problem?" Zimmerman said no, picked up his phone to call the police. Martin then said, "Well, you do now," and punched Zimmerman in the face. Zimmerman was knocked to the ground while Martin got on top of him and started hitting him and bashing his head into the ground. Zimmerman says that Martin saw his gun. He tried to grab it, saying, "You're going to die tonight, motherfucker," so he only fired the gun in self-defense, believing his life was in danger. If that version of events was true, then Zimmerman had a legitimate self-defense claim. Martin would not have been justified in attacking him because he could not have reasonably thought he was being threatened by a guy walking back to his car, especially after responding with no when Martin asked, "You got a problem?" If, however, Zimmerman was lying about what happened and had actually confronted Martin and attacked him first, or intentionally tried to provoke him into fighting, he could not legitimately claim self-defense. Many people believe, based on limited information gathered from the news media, that Zimmerman must be lying because they believe he was a racist who racially profiled Martin and followed him with the intention of killing him, or at least provoking a fight. Many believe Trayvon Martin was too young or too small to have attacked Zimmerman, or that he had no history of violent behavior. They are convinced the jury made the wrong decision. If you are one of these people, here are a few questions for you. Keep in mind that if the jury concluded, based on the evidence, that there was even a reasonable chance Zimmerman's version of the events were true, they were obligated to find him not guilty. Please also note that nothing in this survey is meant to suggest that Trayvon Martin deserved to die. It doesn't prove he did anything, nor does it prove anything about Zimmerman's guilt or innocence. It is simply meant to encourage awareness of underreported facts that shed light on the plausibility of Zimmerman's version of events, whether or not Zimmerman was in fact racist, and whether the individuals and facts were portrayed accurately by the news media. So let's get started. Do you think the jury in the George Zimmerman trial was right to find him not guilty? Yes. As it was a legal trial, I believe they were legally obligated to follow the law. Were you aware of the fact that Zimmerman never mentioned Martin's race until he was asked about it by the dispatcher. Yes, I was. Did you ever see or hear anything about NBC editing the audio of George Zimmerman's call the police in order to make him call to the police in order to make him sound racist? I was aware of that.
Ran an edited version of George Zimmerman's 911 call to exaggerate the racial undertones. But if this was really a mistake, just how easy of a mistake was it to make? Here's NBC's edited audio versus the unedited audio from the original call. This guy looks like he's up to no good. He looks black. You see what he was wearing? Yeah, a dark hoodie. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining and he's just walking around looking about. Okay, this guy, he went back to Hispanic. He looks black. So you'll notice the 911 operator specifically asked George Zimmerman about Trayvon Martin's race. Zimmerman did not volunteer that information, something NBC conveniently edited out. So we're here in PJTV's edit bay to demonstrate the steps necessary to show this wasn't...
And basically then they just prove that, it was intentional. Were you aware of the fact that the widely distributed photo of George Zimmerman was taken in 2005 when he was 22 years old? I was not aware. I was aware it was a past photo, but I was not aware it was that old. This was a photo of Zimmerman on the night of the incident. Have you seen this photo? I actually do think I saw that once or twice. Are you aware of the fact that this widely seen photo of Trayvon Martin looking like a child was not what Trayvon looked like at the time of incident? Actually, it was not. Are you aware of the fact that Trayvon Martin was 17 at the time of the incident? Yes. Are you aware of the fact that Trayvon Martin was nearly 6 feet tall and 158 pounds, according to the coroner's report? Yes. These are two photos of Trayvon from closer to the time of the incident. Did you ever see these photos? No. He looks like he works out. The photo of Trayvon was taken 9 days before the incident. Did you ever see this photo? No. Did you ever see these photos from Trayvon Martin's Facebook page? No. Here's a photo of Trayvon from the surveillance camera at the 7-Eleven a few minutes before he was killed. Did you ever see this photo? No. Were you aware of the fact that at the time of the incident, Trayvon was serving a 10-day suspension from school, his third suspension in the last few months? The most recent suspension was for getting caught with a marijuana pipe in an empty bag containing marijuana residue. I was not aware. In October 2011, 4 months before he was killed, Trayvon was caught on a security camera writing graffiti on a school door. When his backpack was searched by a police officer looking for the graffiti marker, the officer found 12 pieces of women's jewelry, silver wedding bands and diamond earrings, a man's watch, and a flathead screwdriver the officer described as a burglary tool. The jewelry and watch matched the description of items stolen during a recent burglary of a house about a half mile from the school. Did you ever hear anything about this incident? No. Are you aware of the fact that text messages retrieved from Trayvon Martin's cell phone show him talking to someone about selling a firearm? No. These photos were taken from Trayvon Martin's cell phone. Have you ever seen these photos? No. It's not clear who's holding the gun or who it belongs to. Did you ever see or hear anything about this text message sequence from Trayvon's phone in which he brags about fighting and says he's not going to stop? Because man, dad, blank. Snitched on me. Boy, why you always fighting, man? You got suspended? Nah, we thumped after school and ducked off space. Oh, well, damn. I lost the first round, but won the second and third. Oh, so it was 3 rounds? Damn, well, at least you won, LOL, but you need to stop fighting, boy, for real. Nah, I'm not done with fool. He gonna have to see me again. No, stop. You won't be satisfied till you get suspended again, huh? Nah, but he ain't bled enough for me, only his nose. I did not see that, no. I was aware of the fact that according to his text messages, Trayvon had been previously suspended from school for hitting someone. No. I was aware of the fact that Trayvon's older brother, Stephen, sent him a text message 5 days before he was killed saying, "You ain't tell me you swung at a bus driver," suggesting Trayvon had tried to assault a bus driver. Not aware of that. Were they aware of the fact that two police investigators testified that Trayvon Martin's father initially told them the man's voice calling for help on the 911 recording was not the voice of his son? He later said that that was his son's voice in his testimony at the trial. I was aware of that. Are you aware of the fact that Rachel Jeantel, the prosecution's witness, who was on the phone with Martin just before his shot, testified she wasn't sure whose voice it was calling for help on the 911 recording. Chantel's testimony, it could be like I said, I don't know who it could be. The dude sound kind of like Trayvon. Trayvon do got that soft voice, that baby voice sometimes, so it could be, I don't know. I was aware. Are you aware of the fact that Chantel says she warned Trayvon Martin on the phone that the man following him might be a gay rapist, that Trayvon was freaked out by it just moments before his altercation with Trayvon Martin? I was not. Let's hear that audio.
And he was freaked out by it?
Yes. Definitely after I say it might be a rapist. For every boys, every man, who's not that kind of way, see a grown man following them, will they be creeped out? So you gotta take it as a parent, when you tell your child, when you see a grown person follow, run away, and all that.
Seems an interesting leap of logic. Did you ever hear about or see this interview with Chantel where she says she believes it was Trayvon who hit first, although she believes it was justified? If it's the one I'm thinking of, I believe yes, but let's see.
You talk about your voice in your testimony being proof that George Zimmerman was guilty. Were you surprised that the jury didn't take that into consideration, or that they didn't believe you more?
Yes. And they have children.
So what were they thinking? What was the jury thinking? You know, when they hear your story and they see your friend dead, what could have possibly gone through their minds to make them decide that Zimmerman's not guilty?
He caused the situation to happen to himself. Oh, they could have planned this. Like, y'all could have planned it. Why did Trayvon run? Why did Trayvon was not doing nothing? Why did Trayvon fight back? If a person coming after you, trying to hold you, hit you, so you just stand there and let the person hit you. And then after you just got the wrong person, what goes around come back around. That's what happened to George.
So I understand you right. You're saying, from your depiction of what happened, is that George Zimmerman is pursuing Trayvon.
Yes.
At some point, a fight breaks out. Who swings? Who hits who first in your mind?
In my mind, I believe Trayvon. It was Trayvon. Because, like I said, it was a headset.
Yeah, I did hear that one. Were you aware of the fact that eyewitness said he saw Martin on top of Zimmerman punching him MMA style during the struggle before the shots were fired? Some sources had reported that there were two witnesses who saw Zimmerman on top, with the second witness who arrived on the scene immediately after the gunshot only said Zimmerman looked like he had got his butt beat. He had not witnessed the actual struggle. Yes, I heard that. During the trial, Timothy Smith, the first police officer to arrive at the scene, was asked to describe Zimmerman's clothing on the scene. He said the back of it was wetter than the front of it. It was also covered in grass, and agreed that it was consistent with someone lying on his back in the wet grass. It had been raining. Did you hear or read about this testimony? Yes. Were you aware of the fact that Zimmerman's medical records from the day after the incident confirmed he had a broken, fractured nose, 2 black eyes, and lacerations on the back of his head? Actually, I did not know about some of that. I did not know about the broken nose. Note that the prosecution in some of the news reports claimed he did not have a broken nose, apparently believing that because he appeared to have a straight septum, that meant his nose was not broken. However, the medical report said it was a closed fracture, which is considered a broken nose, and the attending physician's assistant confirmed at the trial that he indeed did have a broken nose, despite the apparently straight septum. Did you see any of these photos of Trayvon from the night of the incident? Yes. Do you believe that it was actually Zimmerman who was on top during the struggle on the ground? If you believe that it was actually Zimmerman who was on top during the struggle on the ground, do you have an alternate theory of how he got the injuries on the back of his head? NA, because I do not believe it was him on top. Have you ever seen this map or any similar map of the area where the confrontation took place? No. Were you aware of the total distance Zimmerman walked after leaving his truck was around 300 feet, assuming he went along the path he described from his truck to the point of the confrontation? No. Have you ever seen this police video in which Zimmerman gives his explanation of what happened to investigators?
Right here.
I'm not going to record this entire thing, but yes, I have seen that one. I mean, I'm gonna put the link to this survey in the description, so you guys can go through and watch all the stuff, check all of the sources. We were aware of the fact that, contrary to what was widely reported, Zimmerman never said "fucking coons" on the audio recording of his call to the police. What he actually said was "fucking punks." Even the prosecution admitted this in the trial. I did hear that. Did you ever hear? Did you ever hear about this separate CNN audio analysis? Yes. Are you aware of the fact that the FBI also investigated the case and, after interviewing nearly 3 dozen people, found no evidence that Zimmerman was racist? I had actually been going with maybe he was racist, so I was not aware of that. Or the fact that Zimmerman was half Peruvian. I knew he was Hispanic, not necessarily Peruvian, so I'm going to say yes. Were you aware of the fact that in 2004, Zimmerman and a black friend started a business together, an Allstate insurance office? No. Were you aware of the fact that Zimmerman took a black girl to his high school prom? No. Or the fact that Zimmerman was a registered Democrat who voted for Obama? Well, shame on him, but no. Were you aware of the fact that in 2010, Zimmerman helped organize a Sanford City Hall community forum to protest the beating of a homeless black man who was beaten up by a white kid? No. Were you aware of the fact that in months just before the incident, the gay community had experienced several burglaries and break-ins that, in several of the cases, were witnesses who said the robbers were young black men? Recently, I became aware of this, yes. Did you hear any of the following facts? Residents in the gay community said there were dozens of reports of attempted break-ins and would-be burglars casing homes. 7 months before the incident, a black teenager stole a bike off of Zimmerman's porch. 5 months before the Trayvon incident, 2 young black men broke into the house of Olivia Bertolin, Zimmerman's neighbor, while she was in the house. She hid upstairs and called the police while the 2 men tried to steal her TV. When the police arrived, they fled. One of them ran through Zimmerman's yard. The next month, because of all the burglaries, several residents of the neighborhood asked the neighborhood association to create a neighborhood watch, and Zimmerman was asked to run it. The next month, 2 more houses in the neighborhood were robbed. 3 weeks before the incident, Zimmerman spotted a young black man looking into the windows of a neighbor's house. He called the police and said, "I don't know what he's doing. I don't want to approach him personally." By the time the police finally arrived, the man was gone. 4 days later, another house was burglarized. Witnesses said 2 of the robbers were black teenagers. One of them was soon caught with a laptop stolen from the house. He turned out to be the same man Zimmerman had previously reported looking in windows. Zimmerman's black neighbor was quoted as saying, "Let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm black, okay? There were black boys robbing houses in this neighborhood." That's why George was suspicious of Trayvon Martin. Most of the perpetrators of the prior burglaries and thefts were apparently never caught. All sources we could find only mention one being caught. I was not aware of any of those specifics, no. 2 weeks after the last burglary, Zimmerman saw Trayvon Martin walking through the gated community. According to what he told the police, Zimmerman didn't recognize Trayvon as a resident. Martin lived in Miami Gardens, but had been sent to stay with his father in Twin Lakes community during his 10-day suspension. Zimmerman then called the police saying, "Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy near Retreat View Circle. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining, and he's walking around looking about. He was just staring. He's just walking around the area looking at all the houses. Something's wrong with him." Did you ever see or hear this part of Zimmerman's phone call in which he describes being suspicious of Trayvon of Martin because of his behavior? I've heard parts of it, yes. Several media reports have mentioned that it was a violation of the neighborhood watch rules to carry a gun. However, Zimmerman was not on neighborhood watch duty that night. He was simply on his way to the grocery store when he saw Martin, so he was not in violation of the rules. Were you aware of this fact? I was not aware of that claim or that fact, so no. Were you aware of the fact that, just before Zimmerman started following Martin on foot, the police dispatcher told him, "Just let me know if this guy does anything else." And when Martin started running, this dispatcher said, "He's running? Which way is he running?" Which could potentially be taken as instructions to follow him and find out. I was not aware of that. I thought he had been told to stay in his car. Are you aware of the fact that the police dispatcher did not tell Zimmerman to stay in his car? Zimmerman was already proceeding on foot in the direction Martin had run. When he told this to the dispatcher simply said, "We don't need you to do that." And Zimmerman said, "Okay." He and the dispatcher then discussed where he should meet with the police, who were almost there. Zimmerman claims he then started walking back to meet the police. The audio, including the reduced pace if his breathing, seems to be consistent with his claim that he was walking at that point, but there's no way to tell in which direction. Was not aware of that. Were you aware of the fact that Zimmerman passed a police voice stress analysis lie detector test the day after the incident? During the test, Zimmerman was asked, "Did you confront the guy you shot?" To which Zimmerman answered no. He was also asked, "Were you in fear for your life when you shot the guy?" To which Zimmerman answered yes. The examiner concluded that Zimmerman told substantially the complete truth in the examination, and Zimmerman was classified as no deception indicated, NDI. I was not aware. During the interrogation of Zimmerman at the police station that night, one of the detectives told him that the entire incident had been caught on surveillance video. The detective was bluffing, but Zimmerman did not know that. The detective said Zimmerman's reaction was, "Thank God." Did you ever hear about this? No, I did not. Were you aware of the fact that Zimmerman's case had nothing to do with the Florida Stand Your Ground law? Zimmerman claimed he was unable to retreat, and therefore his defense claim was not based on the Stand Your Ground law. That meant it was a simple question of self-defense. Every state allows for the use of lethal force when a person has reasonable fear for their life, that their life is in danger and they cannot retreat. So basically, the Stand Your Ground law means, you don't have to retreat. You can use violence first. He did not have the option of retreat, so violence was the only option. So yeah, that I did not. No, that never crossed my mind. Note that although the jury instructions did include stand your ground language, that language is part of the standard jury instruction in cases where the defendant claims self-defense. It does not mean it was necessarily relevant in the verdict. For example, the jury instructions also mentioned accidental killings and attacks on dwellings, which clearly did not apply. So no, I was not aware of that. Are you aware that our criminal justice system requires a jury to believe that a defendant is guilty beyond all reasonable doubt? Yes. Do you think it's likely Trayvon Martin confronted Zimmerman and attacked him? Yes. Do you think it's at least possible that Trayvon Martin confronted Zimmerman and attacked him? Yes. Do you think it's at least possible that Zimmerman shot Martin in a legitimate self-defense? Yes. Are you aware that the fact that as a juror you would be obligated to find Zimmerman not guilty if you believe it is possible, within reason, that Martin initiated the confrontation, attacked Zimmerman, and Zimmerman acted in legitimate self-defense, even if you think Zimmerman was foolish to follow Martin? Yes. Do you think the jury was right to find Zimmerman not guilty? Yes. From which of the following sources do you get your news? Some CNN, because it's what's on at work. Some talk radio. I listen to Free Beer and Hot Wings. Yahoo News. Libertarian. Sometimes The Daily Show and The Colbert Report. Talking to friends. You think most of your news sources did a good job of presenting all the facts in this case? No, I do not. So, yeah. So that's that. I definitely did not realize many of these things, and even beforehand, I still agreed with the not guilty verdict. And now I'm even more sure of my initial belief. In fact, now I don't even think that he will be found guilty, nor should he be found guilty in civil court. Basically, what I'm gonna just say as a final word on this situation is that it was a bad situation. It was a bad situation. I don't think Trayvon deserved to die. I think that it was basically this situation left one person dead and another person with their life ruined. The latter of which due to poor media coverage. Basically, the media saw this as an opportunity to stir the pot. Hate sells. They said this has a racial stigma to it. We can really get a lot of mileage out of this. So, my final word is going to be, you know, Zimmerman. He's not guilty of murder. He does not deserve what's going on in his life right now. Really, I think that everyone involved would be better off had the situation not happened. And it's just too bad that it did. So that's my final word on it. Do the survey. It's going to be in the description. Check the sources. Listen to the audio. Watch the videos. Come to your own conclusions. This is my conclusion. And that's that.